At 6:12 in the morning, an HOA Karen showed up at my remote mountain cabin with 2 cops, a camera rolling, and a smile on her face because she thought I was about to be arrested for trespassing. What she didn't know was that I owned the land under her feet, the road she drove on, and the entire valley behind her. I was standing on my porch in socks, coffee still hot in my hand, when an SUV came flying up my gravel road like it had someplace important to be. Dust exploded into the air. Tires crunched aggressively. The engine didn't shut off right away, like they wanted to make an entrance. Then the door opened. She stepped out already filming. Blonde ponytail. Oversized sunglasses. That confident walk people have when they think they're about to win in public. She didn't even look at me at first. She looked straight into her phone. "This is absolutely insane," she said loudly. "I'm here with law enforcement because this man is illegally occupying HOA property." That was my good morning. 2 sheriff's deputies pulled in behind her. Calm. Professional. Neutral, but you could tell they already had a narrative in their heads. She turned toward me and pointed like I was an exhibit. "You need to vacate immediately," she snapped. "You've been reported multiple times." I took a slow sip of my coffee. "Reported for what?" I asked. She scoffed. "For existing here." She flipped open a thick folder like she'd been rehearsing this moment. "This cabin violates HOA bylaws," she continued. "Unauthorized structure. Environmental violations. No approved architectural review. You are not allowed to live here." That's when it clicked. She wasn't confused. She wasn't asking questions. She was performing. Talking louder than necessary. Making sure the cops heard her first. Making sure her live stream caught everything. One of the deputies cleared his throat. "Sir," he said to me, "we received several complaints stating you're trespassing on HOA-controlled land. We just need to sort this out." "Of course," I said calmly. That response annoyed her more than anything else. "I have the bylaws right here," she said, shoving papers toward the deputy. 17 pages. It clearly states no private residences beyond the access gate. She smirked at her phone. This guy thinks rules don't apply to him. I set my coffee down on the railing. Now let me explain something. I didn't move out here to argue with strangers. I didn't build this cabin for attention. I came here for quiet. 14 years earlier, I bought this land legally, quietly, and without any drama. No neighbors. No HOA. No signs. Just forest, creek water, and time. So when this woman, who I had never seen in my life, started talking like she owned my reality, I wasn't angry. I was curious. Because nothing she was saying made sense. The deputy flipped through her paperwork. "Sir," he asked, "do you have proof of ownership?" "Yes," I said. She laughed. "Oh, he says he owns it," she told her live stream. They always say that. Before the deputy could respond, I asked one simple question. "What's the name of your HOA?" She blinked once. "Whispering Creek Estates," she answered quickly. "And how big is it?" I asked. She rolled her eyes. "That's irrelevant. Just humor me." She sighed dramatically. "About 200 acres. I nodded. "Interesting." She leaned closer, lowering her voice. "You don't belong here," she whispered. "People like you think you can just hide and ignore rules." I smiled slightly. "That's funny," I said. "I don't remember joining a community." One of the deputies frowned and checked his tablet. "How long have you lived here?" he asked me. 14 years, I replied. Her head snapped toward me. "That's impossible," she said. "The development started 6 years ago." "Development of what?" I asked. "Our neighborhood," she said. "And before that?" I asked. She hesitated. "Undeveloped land." The deputy's expression changed. Because here's the problem. If an HOA owned this land, there would be gates, signs, records, something. But there was nothing. Just my cabin, my road, my valley. Sir, the deputy said carefully, do you mind if we check county records? Please, I said. Karen laughed loudly. Oh my God, this is such a waste of time, she said to her phone. He's clearly squatting. The deputy stepped aside and started checking. Karen moved closer to me. You're about to be arrested, she whispered confidently. If that's how it goes, I said. She stared at me. Why aren't you scared? I didn't answer. Because fear only exists when you don't know the truth. A minute passed. Then another. One of the deputies squinted at his screen. That's odd, he muttered. What? Karen snapped. The parcel boundaries don't line up. County maps are outdated, she said quickly. They were updated last year, he replied. She crossed her arms. Our HOA lawyer said. Ma'am, the second deputy interrupted gently, we're just verifying information. That's when the crack appeared. Small. But real. Karen's voice got louder. He's destroying property values, she insisted. He's violating community standards. Which standards? I asked. The ones you printed last night? Her face turned red. These are official documents. Funny, I said calmly. Because I've reviewed every recorded document tied to this land. She narrowed her eyes. And what exactly do you do for a living? I read carefully, I said. The deputies exchanged a look. Sir, one of them asked, can you explain the scope of your ownership? Karen burst out laughing. Oh my God, she said. This is amazing. He thinks he owns everything. I didn't correct her. Instead, I asked the deputy one last question. Can you tell me, I said, who owns the land beyond this road? The deputy stared at his screen. Then froze. He leaned closer. According to this, the cabin sits on a private parcel. Karen rolled her eyes. So what? The road is private too, he continued. She stiffened. And the surrounding parcels, he paused. Finish the sentence, she snapped. They're all the same owner. Silence. Real silence. Karen laughed nervously. That's impossible. Check the acreage, the other deputy said. Karen stepped forward. Let me see that. I raised my hand gently. Before you do, I said calmly, you should understand something. She turned to me. What? You didn't call the cops on a squatter. Her phone was still recording. Her audience still watching. The deputy still staring. You called them on the owner. Her smile vanished. And that's where everything changed. Her smile didn't fade all at once. It cracked. Like glass under pressure. What are you talking about? Karen said, laughing too fast. That's not possible. One of the deputies tilted the screen slightly away from her, eyes locked on the map. Ma'am, he said carefully, according to county records, this entire parcel. She stepped closer. You're reading it wrong. He kept scrolling. The cabin, the road, the creek access, they're all under the same deed. Her phone wobbled in her hand. The live stream chat exploded, though she wasn't reading it anymore. That can't be right, she said, louder now. Our HOA lawyer reviewed everything. The second deputy leaned in. Who is the listed owner? He asked. The first deputy read the name. My name. Out loud. Karen froze. No, she said. No, 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 this has to be fraud. She pointed at me like she'd caught me cheating on a test. This guy lives in a shack, she snapped. He's off-grid. He doesn't even have a mailbox. I shrugged. I prefer quiet. The deputy continued. The deed shows a single purchase, 14 years ago. Combined acreage just over 2,600 acres. Her face drained of color. 20, what? I finally spoke again. That's the valley, I said calmly. The wind moved through the trees. A bird took off from the fence line. Karen stared at the screen, then at the deputies, then back at me. You're lying, she said. That's impossible. Our neighborhood alone is carved out of a lease, the deputy finished, scrolling. A long-term lease. Not ownership. The word hit her like a slap. Lease, she repeated. Yes, ma'am. The HOA does not own the land. They lease development rights from the deed holder. She turned to me slowly. You, she whispered. I nodded. The live stream went quiet. No, she said suddenly, louder, desperate. This is wrong. You can't just own everything. People don't do that. I didn't do it all at once, I said. I did it quietly. She spun back to the deputies. You need to arrest him, she said. For fraud. For lying. For intimidating an HOA official. The deputy shook his head. Ma'am, he hasn't done anything illegal. He's harassing me, she shouted. You came onto his property, the deputy replied evenly. You called us. Her voice climbed an octave. He's violating HOA rules. The deputy sighed. Ma'am, HOA rules don't apply to the landowner. Her phone slipped slightly in her grip. No, she said, almost to herself. No, no, no. I could see it now. The realization. Every letter she'd sent. Every fine. Every threat. Meaningless. She turned back to me, eyes blazing. You let us build here, she said. You watched the neighborhood go up and said nothing. That's correct, I replied. Why? Because you followed the lease, I said. Until you didn't. She laughed hysterically. So this is about one cabin, she snapped. You're doing all this because you didn't like HOA rules? I shook my head. No, I said. I didn't like trespassing. One of the deputies cleared his throat. Ma'am, he said, we also need to address the false reports. She whipped toward him. False? You claimed criminal trespassing, he said. You requested removal. None of that applies. I was enforcing bylaws. You don't have jurisdiction, he replied. The word landed hard. Jurisdiction. Her shoulders sagged for a split second, then she snapped back into fight mode. You don't understand, she said rapidly. This land is supposed to be shared. He's hoarding it. The deputy raised an eyebrow. Ma'am, private property law doesn't work that way. Her live stream comments started turning. I saw her glance down briefly. Then she turned the phone off. Silence. Real silence. She looked smaller without the camera. You can't do this, she said quietly, almost pleading. We have families. Kids. Homes. I know, I said. That's why I stayed quiet. She looked up. What? I didn't want development, I said. I didn't want roads. Or traffic. Or HOAs. So why lease it? She asked bitterly. Because I didn't want to fight people who were following the rules, I said. Until you showed up. The deputies exchanged another look. Ma'am, one of them said, we're going to need you to leave the property. She laughed once. You're kicking me out? Yes, he said. Immediately. She stared at them. This is unbelievable. Also, he added, we strongly advise you to stop contacting the landowner. Her jaw tightened. Or what? Or we document harassment, he replied calmly. She turned to me one last time. You think you won, she said. I met her eyes. I didn't come here to win, I said. I came here to be left alone. She opened her mouth, then closed it. There was nothing left to say. She walked back to her SUV slowly, every step heavier than the last. The deputies waited until she drove off before turning back to me. We apologize for the disturbance, one of them said. No problem, I replied. They left shortly after. The valley returned to itself. Wind in the trees. Creek flowing. Quiet. I picked up my coffee. Cold now. Still tasted good. Because sometimes, the loudest people think they own everything. Until they meet someone who actually does. And that's the last time an HOA ever came up my road.